Hi, welcome back to another episode of the Money Brew. I am your host, Kylie Sultana, and today I'm going to be tackling a question that you probably haven't asked yourself in a little while, and that is, what does it actually cost to be you? So this is kind of on the back of we get asked a lot by clients or people that come in and need help with their financial stuff. Um, and they ask us, how much do I need to retire? And our answer to that question is, well, I don't know. And they are like, well, why don't you know? And it's like, well, we're not you. We don't know how much it costs to be you. We know how much we want as a couple, Anthony and myself, to retire. But have you sat down and thought about what you're going to need in retirement? So it's always good to plan. We're big on planning because this stuff just doesn't happen on a whim. You've got to plan for financial security. So I mean, quite literally, how much does it cost to be you? So do you know how much it costs to keep your life running smoothly every single day? And it's really more important to know this because you need to know how much you're going to need in retirement. So that's going to potentially be what you need to save so that once you stop working, that's what you're going to need. So trying to save you from eating cans of baked beans for the rest of your life and wondering where it all went wrong. So if we plan now, we're going to have a smoother future. So today I'm going to break it down, figuring out your daily, weekly, and monthly expenses and what it really takes to fund your lifestyle in the long run. So there's plenty of calculators and things out there you can get. I'll mention that in a minute. And the biggest mistakes that people make when planning for their financial future. And just to add, it's okay to make mistakes as long as you realize it's a mistake and trying to recover from it. Okay, so this isn't a lecture, please, and I'm going to talk about coffees and takeouts and stuff. I am not telling you for 1 second that you can't go and have your coffees and your takeouts. I just want you to make conscious decisions about what you're doing with your money and if that's going to affect your bottom line when you stop working. Okay, so we've all got our guilty pleasures, me included. So you've just got to know what you daily spending, what are you spending in a day? If you have a $5 coffee every day, over 30 days, that's $150 a month. Uh, not a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of things, if we're looking 20 years in the future, it is. You maybe want to buy a coffee machine, but if that's something you enjoy, by all means, keep doing it. Okay. If you eat a lot of takeout, Uber Eats, it's so easy now. We've got everything on these. I don't know where my phone is, but on our phones, we've literally got a plethora, is that a word? Choices of where we can order. I mean, you can even order your groceries on Uber and stuff now. So I'm probably a bit behind the eight ball with that. But anyway, streaming subscriptions. So this is actually one that gets me. Still quite a few realize we had them. Our boys still live at home. I know they're 25 and 21. We're trying to help them. So they're really good savers and investors. And, otherwise we'd be charging them for this stuff. But because they are investing and saving their money, we kind of help cover that. Every little bit helps, right? I've easily saved us probably $40 or $50 a month. And, the impulse Uber rides because you didn't want to catch public transport or you couldn't be bothered driving. So, is it going to save you some money? So and that's only an example. There might be other things where you could save money, but all of that stuff adds up. So if you multiply that by a week, month, and then a year, and then years, you could have a European holiday potentially, or a coastal holiday. I don't care where you want to go on holiday. It's really important to have time out. And if anybody knows me and you've seen or heard the podcast before, you'll know that I love my holidays and that is what I live for. So you've got to find what you live for and work out how much that's going to cost you in retirement and how much you're going to need for your living expenses. So tracking your spending. So that's number one. So it's actually not that hard. And I know, some people call it budget, but whatever. Call it whatever you want, but you got to know. You've got to know what it is, okay? Put it in paper, carry a notebook if you're old school, if that's what you want to do. But honestly, there are so many apps, or check your bank. They have loads of free things. If you've got the banking app, there's usually something in there that you can track. Or a spreadsheet. Keep it simple. Have a spreadsheet. In fact, if you're listening or watching, send me an email. hello@creowealth.com.au. I'll send you our basic spreadsheet that we've got. It's easy peasy to follow. I think I've even done a video on it. I can send that to you as well. But I digress. So you've got to track it. So trust me when I say your memory is lying to you, because if you look at your bank account every month and think, where the hell has this gone? Once you start tracking it, you are going to know exactly where it is. So, okay, I don't care. If that's the one thing you take out of this episode, just track your spending. Okay, so two, what does your future need? What does your future you need? So I know I've just crushed your spirit with the spending habits, but that's okay. Don't let that put you on a downer. But we're going to talk about the future now. So this is a place where hopefully you don't have to work forever. And I'm telling you, I cannot wait for semi-retirement. I'm hoping to God it's in a couple of years. Once I turn 55. Yes. Actually, no, it's not a couple of years. Yeah, it's not that far away, 12 months away. So if you're like most people, you will just magically need way less money when you retire. And I can tell you now, I'm probably going to need more, because we're going to want a holiday a lot more than what we are now. So your expenses will shrink if you're commuting or working, because you're not spending money on petrol or train tickets, things like that. Or, future you. Uh, Start that again. So if you're like most people, you probably assume that you'll magically need way less money when you retire, or your expenses will shrink because you won't be commuting or working, and that future you will somehow figure it out. So I'm here to tell you you're wrong. Very, very wrong. So in reality, you might actually need more money in retirement than you think. And why is that? Well, because healthcare costs potentially going to go up, because getting older is not cheap. You know, you could have illnesses and things that you need medications and surgeries for, and travel. You might want to travel, unless your dream is to just sit on the front porch and yell at the kids in the neighborhood. By all means, that's what you want to do, then that's what you want to do. And you're still going to have bills. Just because you stop working doesn't mean the mortgage fairies. Well, hopefully you've paid off your home by then, but you are still going to have bills. You're still going to have electricity and things like that. If you have a car, you're still going to have insurances and registrations. So let's figure out how much you're actually going to need. So, how do you fund the lifestyle that you actually want? So, we're going to get to the good stuff. Make sure, and we're going to get to the good stuff. How to make sure you have enough money to live the life you want without relying on couch surfing with family in 30 years' time. Number one is start saving yesterday, but today also works, right? Because we can't get yesterday back. So set up automatic savings and pay yourself first. Okay. So open up an account that you can't even access, no card, nothing. Yep. Start putting that away. Try and find one with a high interest rate. It is what it is at the moment. Or even start that money. You don't need a lot of money to start investing. Your superannuation. So, can you be adding additional money to your super? But you do need to check that you're not going over any of your caps, and there are rules, and you do need to check that before you do. So that is not advice; it is just a suggestion that you should take a look at that, because that is one way. But just remember that money is locked away for a long time, depending on how old you are. You cannot access that money until you've retired. So investing wisely. So going back to your savings, if you want to invest that, so invest that wisely. Use an advisor. Do your own research. There's so many tools out there that you can use these days that there is no reason for you to not be investing. Debt. Let's talk about debt, because that is killer. Okay, so high interest debt, you want to try and get rid of that. Credit card debt is a silent killer, and so is Afterpay. All those buy now, pay later schemes. I'm telling you, if you don't have the money, then just don't buy it. Okay, just stay away from it. If you have a mortgage, try and plan to pay that off before retirement. And if you don't think you can, you need to look at ways, or if you have a downsize plan, if you're living in a large family home, do you have plans to downsize? Are you going to want to do that? So you need to look at those kind of things. and your what if, or as I call it, my holy shit fund. So, life happens, jobs disappear, you might lose your job, medical bills show up, cars break down, stuff like that happens. People say, how much do I need for an emergency fund? That could be, it's the same as how much do you need in retirement. That's what do you need? It would be 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, and don't touch it until it's an actual emergency, which is a really good idea. That's pretty much all I've got to say on that. So I just want you to think of how much it costs to be you. And it's not just what you're spending today. You need to look at the future you and if you can afford to be the future you. So start tracking, start saving, and most importantly, be intentional with your money. So don't skip stuff that you're enjoying, but be intentional with it. If you want to be 70 and broke, then by all means do that. But be intentional with your money. Okay. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please drop me a message at hello@creowealth.com.au. I have got my money management online course coming up very soon. I am in the process of working that. It's going to be a no BS way for you to get on top of your and to just give you some guidance on how to track and how much you're going to need in retirement and lots of other fun stuff. I've got my husband, Anthony, who is our certified financial planner here at Career Wealth. He's going to be jumping on and educating about superannuation and all that sort of fun stuff that I think is fun and stuff that I want you to think is fun too in the future because your future you is going to thank you for it. So thanks for listening and I'll see you in the next episode.